So in this video, I want to do a really quick comparison between the Lamy 2000 and this TWSBI Diamond 580. It's not immediately clear why I would compare the two, but I would just say that if you have your first fountain pen, something like a Safari, you spend 20 bucks on it, and you're hooked and you want more, you're probably looking at a few different pens, and it's very possible looking at a Diamond, and now you're saying, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drop like 50, 60 bucks on my next pen. Or you're looking at something like the Lamy 2000 and you're saying, okay, I want a gold nib, I want to really do this, I'm gonna spend 120, 130, $150 on my next pen. So if you're one of those buyers choosing between the two, these are two of the most popular pens out there. They're not like the only options, but they're definitely probably the two top picks, and they would be my recommendations. I've said a few times that I'm not a huge fan of the TWSBI 580. I don't think it offers a sufficient amount of value over the Eco, which is only about $30. But that said, it's a nice pen and has some cool features, so I could see why people do like it. It's not like that opinion is super popular. It seems like a lot of people are buying the 580 or the 580 AL, or I believe the new one's called the AL or something like that. So I want to get these two pens next to each other for a size comparison. The 580 is a larger looking pen. It's actually not that much larger in practice, but visually it looks a lot larger. And part of that has to do because the Lamy 2000 has such a streamlined design. Materials, the Lamy 2000 is definitely the nicer of the two, but it uses less traditional materials. It uses what's called Macrolon, which is like a brushed fiberglass, and that's blended really seamlessly into stainless steel, and then it has that gold nib. The nib is a hooded design, so it's definitely partially hidden by the stainless steel part of the body, and it's for what it's worth, it's actually really tiny. And that's a kind of a love it or hate it quality of the Lamy 2000. The 580 uses this larger nib. It's a larger nib than the Eco. So if you're looking for a more classic design, it has this good size, but not gigantic, flared nib. I think it may be a size 5.5 or size 6. And it is a smooth nib. This is it in the broad, and here is it next to the Lamy 2000 in a medium. This pen uses like kind of a standard clear acrylic. Has a body that could be taken apart if you want to replace this feed and nib section, and obviously the section too. But this whole end can be replaced if you want to change this out and move it to a maybe a medium or extra fine or something like that. And those sell for about $30. If you buy a Lamy 2000, you're stuck with whatever size you get it in. On the ink capacity side, I've seen the 580 seems to hold more. That's completely non-scientific, but there you have it. Both have a built-in fill mechanism. This one has a very standard piston, and you can see it in there. The Lamy also has a piston mechanism built in, but it's hidden away. So that means if you're just getting into fountain pens, the 580 is easier to fill because you could actually see what's going on with the Lamy and this opaque design. It's not always immediately clear if you fill it up as much as you can. As for like day-to-day use, I prefer the Lamy. I think it writes better, but obviously it has the gold nib. I think it's maybe not more comfortable, but it's definitely more interesting. This tapered design, I know a lot of people don't know where to hold it. It's not really clear. And when you are holding it, a lot of times you end up having your fingers over these little nubs, and those are just there to prevent it from rolling on the table. 580 has a more conventional design with a nicely sized section. It's easy to hold. One of the nice things about the 580 is you always know how much ink is in it because it's a demonstrator. With this Lamy 2000, you have a little window here, but the window is very short. So you can tell if it has ink in it basically from here to here. But anything above this, you have no idea how full it is. And you can kind of move it around and see if ink shows up, but it's really difficult to know how much ink is in this pen. So I've walked out of my house a few times with it and had it not had much ink in it, and I just had no idea. Generally, if you do see ink in here, you're going to be able to get through a fair bit of writing. But seeing it here and saying, okay, I have a milliliter or a milliliter and a half or something like that, you're going to be able to write really well. You can post the Lamy 2000. I don't feel that comfortable doing it. It just makes the pen feel kind of big to me, but it does post fairly well. The 580 also posts, but I never post this one because you're basically putting the cap over the fill mechanism, and the fill mechanism doesn't have a lock, so I don't think this is the ideal pen for posting. So I'm gonna leave it at that and just say that if you're going ahead and if you're strongly considering the 580, I would say go with the Eco, save your money, and then get a Lamy 2000 in the future. If you're gonna get the Lamy 2000, I really don't see why the 580 would be much of a temptation, unless if you want a more classic design. But given how popular these two pens are, I think it was worth doing this comparison. If and when I acquire some more pens, like a 3776 or some of the pens in that class, then I'll follow up with a few more videos. But I thought people would find this interesting, so I will take any more questions or comments below. Thanks for watching.